Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. We'll start with a mind relaxation. So let's sit back and relax. And our theme today is happiness. So let's start talking to our mind using these words that happiness is here to stay in my life. And it will only get better with time. There's so much more to come and more pleasure and joy to my current happiness. Being happy and staying happy is my right. To experience this continued cheerfulness in my life. So let's feel these words, accept them in our heart and our mind. Absorb them in our subconscious mind. And then they truly work. Because once these words are imprinted into our subconscious, then our day to day life functions as per these principles automatically. So the trick over here is to make it a firm belief that this becomes a foundational operational principle of our day to day life. So, happiness is here to stay in my life, and it will only get better with time. There's so much more to come, and more pleasures and joy to my current happiness. Being happy and staying happy is my right. To experience this continued cheerfulness in my life is my right. The moment I accept this, the moment I repeat these words, it becomes the foundation of every thought, every action, every reaction in our day to day life. It becomes our personality. And every time we experience sadness or anxiety, we pull out this tool from the pocket of our mind and start repeating it, start believing in it, that happiness is my right. Being happy and staying happy. There's more to come, more pleasures and joys to my current happiness. And it's my right to experience continued cheerfulness in life. And I will react or act only from a happy, cheerful state of mind. I will make this my habit, my personality, that I'm a being of happiness. Unless this becomes my natural state, I will keep practicing. And in a short period of time, I will start noticing the difference as my personality of being happy manifests itself naturally in every situation. So, first, I have to believe in the power of these words. Then, I have to accept these words in my mind. And then, I have to firmly practice with full determination. And the result is I am an embodiment of happiness. I can leave everything but not my own happiness. I am firm on making this the operating principle of my life. I am firm on making this my true and natural personality. I am a being of happiness. Only one anchor thought. I am a being of happiness. This one anchor thought sets the foundation of the remaining part of my life. So let's get our attention back into the session today. Take a deep breath in, breathe out, and relax. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Raki, for the calming meditation. It was really nice. Before we get started with our today's session, hi everybody, welcome all. So before we get started, can we know how are you guys doing? Feel free to chime in the chat box. Let us know how are you doing. You're doing well. Or if anybody has any queries from our previous session, feel free to unmute yourself. If you have any doubts, any clarifications needed, let's get started with that and then proceed further with our today's session. So first of all, let us know how are you guys today in the chat box quickly. Come on. Nobody is feeling good today? Am I audible, guys? Hey, great, Riyansh. That is great to know. Yeah, you can definitely get started without Anaconda. Anaconda just gives you that compatibility to have multiple similar tools present at a centralized place, which you can get started. So yeah, that is also something uh, feasible, but we still recommend Anaconda to be there so that if we need anything else, we can use it from the centralized place. Yeah, go ahead if you have any question, Riyansh. I see you have raised a hand. But welcome all, welcome Jayaprakash and Ardhariwal, Rashmi, Dayamanti, Jayaprakash and Ashish.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Riyansh. Go ahead.
Actually, I was saying that once you have installed Anaconda, then I was actually just searching for Jupyter. So I could not see Jupyter Lab, but I could see Jupyter Notebook. So I just launched it, and then in the the browser window which it opens, I just changed the URL from tree, like where it is written tree, I change it to lab, and it opens Jupyter Lab.
Okay, so you were not able to find Jupyter Lab on Anaconda Navigator.
No, actually, we could not find Jupyter Lab in our start menu that we could see for Jupyter Notebook. That's why I just got a small trick so that we don't need to open Anaconda because it takes too much time to open Anaconda
Okay,
Navigator.
I got your point. Okay, so if you have figured out that hack, you can still do it that way. But what I meant to say was that you can even install Jupyter Labs explicitly without Anaconda. But if you have figured that out, that is well and good. So I will share my screen and let you know that how it shows at my end. So maybe you will be able to see. Are you able to see the Anaconda Navigator on my screen?
Yes, sir.
So here I am getting a couple of options wherein I have both. I have Notebook as well. I have Jupyter Lab as well. So I'm getting both the options. Not sure why are you not seeing those options? Have you tried scrolling up and down and checking all the options available?
Sir, I am able to see it. I just told the hack like without opening the Anaconda Navigator.
Oh, okay. You are able to see, but you mean to say that you can directly interchange between both just by changing that portion in the URL.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Yeah, great to know that, Ryan. Yeah, still, I would say that is a good hack. But for now, I think we are specifically using Jupyter Lab only. We are not using Jupyter Notebook as of now, but when we'll move to Jupyter Notebook, I think the hack would be useful. But still, thanks for sharing that. Anybody else has any questions, other questions before we get started? I see one question on the chat. What is the difference between Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook? So actually, Jupyter Labs gives you that compatibility to execute your code in a parallel manner, wherein you are able to test out the separated code. Uh, like if you have a long code, let's say 100 lines of code, and then if you would run it traditionally, then you have the only way to test is to run the complete code and test it. But Jupyter Lab gives you that compatibility to test it line by line. So you can basically test it along while you are developing. So that is there. Jupyter Notebook is also a execution platform wherein you can make your programs available, or you can make your notebooks available, which can basically have your application code and which would run on your trigger and would do the needful. But I myself don't have much idea other than that about what Jupyter Notebook additionally helps into. I will have to gain that idea. So thanks for asking those questions. Anybody else has any other questions before we get started? Feel free to unmute yourself and come up. But appreciate your efforts, Riyansh. You basically come up with new ideas, and you basically try to share what you figure out. Okay,
Chant,
so
I just wanted to understand what we are going to do today. Means, what is the agenda today?
so today we will continue from the previous session wherein we completed a set of data extraction questions. Just a minute. Hey guys, sorry, I'm back. Yeah, so somebody was asking about the agenda. So today we are gonna continue from the same data extraction mechanisms. I think we completed a couple of them, but not all. So we'll continue from there today. So let's get started. So these are the questions I think that we were trying to complete in our previous session, if you remember, and we were able to complete some of them partially. Now we can, I think, start from where we left. But anybody has any queries on any of the queries, questions above, insights above that we tried to do that day? If anybody was not able to understand any specific thing or anything, you can ask so that we can cover that first and continue ahead. Or if you want to add your specific insight that we can try today, please feel free to add that. It would be creative and interesting to explore that also. So
Prashant, my question is like we were using some query language to get that data, right?
yeah, not query,
What is
not
uh
query, Python.
Python? Yeah. Okay.
So we will be using Python for data extraction. So there is no other query that we are using as of now, only Python.
I mean, like which library we are using?
So see, for data extraction, data processing, we are currently using Pandas. And initially, when we started with our data analysis session, we focused on data visualization, wherein we used uh, the other libraries, which are OpenPyXL and NumPy. All right. So I think where we could complete till last time, I think we were here players which won medals for India. So let's start from here itself. Now let me share my. So are you able to see my Jupyter Lab? Can anybody confirm?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So uh, we were able to complete. Yeah, we were able to complete until this question, which was who won medals for India in Beijing, and for which we used basically this code. So basically the purpose of covering these questions is to basically get strong with the fundamentals, how to basically extract the required data, how to extract the insights from the raw data. So once you become familiar, once you have a good hold over these fundamentals, how you can pick up the right insight from a huge bulk of data, then we will be in a good position to move ahead on basically seeing how we can basically extract out further advanced or complex insights from these data. So first of all, we would try to figure out these basic uh, uh, insights, although these are not very basic, but still these are basic and fundamental. This will help you understand the fundamentals. And then once we are done with that, we shall move ahead towards the actual or let's say a step above the more complex and advanced ways of data analysis. All right. So we'll now start with please show the participation history of Usain Bolt. So Usain Bolt has been a legendary player in the history of Olympics. So many people are interested to learn about him, to know more about him, to explore more about Usain Bolt, what has been his history, participation, and how he basically won so many medals into the field of athletics. So let's get started with Usain Bolt. So now for that, we basically have to, first of all, re-import our Excel file. So here we are using this data, which is Olympics 120 years.excel file. This Excel file has all the data. So we will need to reload it, and we are reading this Excel file into a variable, which is data. And once we have read this variable, uh, successfully in data, then we will be able to further process that data from this variable. So first of all, I will have to execute this code. To execute this code, I will have to press this button. Says name PD is not defined. Okay, so which means then I will have to execute this code first, wherein I will have to use import pandas library. So I execute this code. This is executed. Now I will execute this one. So now as you can see, this button has gone black and it says that it is executing the cell and it's taking certain minutes, which is certain time, which it is telling you in seconds. So since this is a bulk of data, this is in MBs, more than 20-30 MBs of Excel data. So it is taking long time to read this data into this data variable. Once it is read, it won't take much of a time for us to process this data and reach out the insights that we require. All right. So let's see how long does it take to read this data into this variable. It has already taken 49 seconds. And opening, yeah, so it took almost a minute, exactly 60 seconds to read this data. After that, it was able to print that data for us. So now whatever code we are going to execute below will work. Otherwise, if we had not done that and we directly had started executing the code, it would have failed. So let's check this code if that works or not. So it says medal IND. Okay, so medal IND is a variable which is defined here. So I will have to execute this before executing this. So let me execute this. It says DF is not found. Okay, so DF, wherein I'm using DF. Okay, it's here. So I should use data instead. Okay, here I am using DF equals to data. So I will have to execute this first. Yeah, so it executed first, then I can execute this. It's executes without any error. It tells that India won 3 medals in the Beijing Olympics. And here now it will execute and it will tell me who were the players who won medals for India in the Beijing Olympics and what were the medals and what was the sport they won medals for. All right. So now we will move on to 8, and here let's explore more about Usain Bolt. All right. So how we will explore more about Usain Bolt? So I had already tried a couple of methods. So here, if you'll see, I had basically tried to filter here. So we'll use, before that, actually, let me also open the Excel sheet for you. So let me share my entire screen. Are you able to see the Excel screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in this Excel sheet, see there are more than 2 lakh of rows. Now here we specifically need to find the right insight about Usain Bolt. Okay, so how are we gonna do that? We will, if you had to do it using Excel way, you will have to filter on the name and try to identify what is the name through which Usain Bolt is mentioned here. So first of all, we will have to use filter here. And if I filter, I will have to search for him. So it says there is a person as Usain Sant Leo Bolt. So I will specifically select him. And now this gives me the right insight about him. I mean, the related details about him. But still, this is a lot of data that I don't need. I only need so this is a lot of data that I don't need. I only need specific data. For example, I might need name. I might need the year he participated into and the city in which the Olympics was hosted at that point of time, and whether he won a medal for that participation or not. I may not need all the columns here. So let's try to do this example and reach out the right insight. All right. So let's get back to our Jupyter notebook and we will come here. So first of all, we have all the data in our data variable. So I will declare a new variable, which I would say as Usain Bolt. And now, what was the first step I did? The first step was I filtered for Usain Bolt. So I have to first of all filter for Usain Bolt. How can I do that? So data is my Excel sheet wherein all my Excel data is there. Now I have to further filter my data at where name column. So the column is name. All right. And where the entry is this, where the name matches Usain Bolt. So put all the data for this particular name where it matches with this particular name, Usain Bolt. Put all the related data in this particular variable. All right. So now let's try to print what gets into the Usain Bolt. Let's execute this code and it basically brings out the entire data that we extracted on the step 1. Now, what was the step 2? So step 2 was we only need specific columns. And what are those columns? We need name, we need year, and we need city and the medal details. So how can we do proceed further on that part? So now we need to filter out the columns. So right now what we did was we filtered out rows. Now we need to filter out columns. All right. So how are we gonna do that? So now basically if we want to print the required data, what we can do is we can basically use the same print, and under the brackets what we can do is name. If we are declaring multiple variables, if we are using multiple column names, then we need to use double brackets. We can then put name, year, city, event, and medal. Now I can execute the code. Name is not defined. Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, yeah, we figured out name. Now I can pull here. I had forgotten to put the inverted commas. So always ensure you're using that while you are selecting the column names. And medal. So now it gives you his participation history, that when he first participated in 2004 in Athena Olympics, he lost and he could only participate in one event where he could not win any medal. And then he prepared himself better again for the 2008 Olympics, which were hosted in Beijing. And he won 2 gold medals there, but he lost in the third category. And then in London, he won gold in all the categories that he participated into. So which was 100 meter and then relay and I think 400 meter as well, 200 meter as well, I think. And then in Rio Olympics, he again won gold medals for all the 3 events that he participated into. So let's also take a look at the events he participated into. So what we can do is we can just add the event column here, and it tells that he initially participated in 200 meters race where he did not win any medal. And after he participated in Beijing Olympics, he won a gold for 100 meter, for 200 meter, but then his team lost in 400 meter relay. But then he did not lose any medal again in any of the upcoming in the next Olympics. So that was how his history was. All right. So now we had one more question around him. How many medals were won by him? Okay, so I think there was a question. Can you unmute yourself, Manjul, and let me know? I could not take a look at the chat box. So now we need to count the total medals he won and how we can count that. So we need to now specifically focus on medal column. And in medal column, there are two entries where he did not win any medal, but for the other, he won. So how we can count that? We can count it using this method, wherein we can say print Usain Bolt. So Usain Bolt is a variable where we have all the data, but now we specifically need to focus on the medal and there is a function and then let me check what was that function. Oh, sorry. Drop NA. And then we can count it using the length function, which will count all the entries, how many medals he has. So it says he won 8 medals overall in his participation history in the event of Olympics. All right. So is this clear to all? How we filtered around this basic data and how we reached this insight following these 2 steps and adding the third one wherein we calculated how many medals did he won actually using the code. Give me a thumbs up or +1 in the chat if you understood so that I can move ahead.
And so this drop NA is a basically method which gives us the count, right?
No, so drop NA is not that method. So drop NA basically does not count these entries where it did not, wherever there is a not applicable mentioned. So you see NaN, this means not applicable. So drop NA means that drop the not applicable values. So which means if we are counting, then what are the total entries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are total 10 entries in the medal column, but it is only giving us 8. Why it is giving us 8? Because we are not considering the not applicable entries. We are dropping them before printing the final out. Understood?
Yeah. And
All right.
length LEN just that total number, right? Okay.
Yeah, LEN counts the
Thank you.
total number of entries, rows that are there for the respective category that we are opting for. All right. So
Yeah.
now let's move ahead. Let's pick up another question. So we have covered this question. We have covered this question. Now let's please show his medal count along with his participation history. So I think we have also covered this. Player who won the maximum medal so far. So now, do you know who is the player who has won maximum medal so far in the Olympics history? Anybody would want to make any guess? If you are already familiar with that personality. or the sport you want to guess the sport, it's not top. Or if you want to guess the sports where the Maxim medals have been won. And he's a very famous player. If you want any hints, I can give you, but before that, try to make any other guesses. So now we have to identify player who has won maximum medals in Olympics history. So let me give you a hint that he won these medals for swimming. So can anybody now guess who is that player? If you're still not able to guess, I can still give you a second hint, but you should be able to figure that out. Yeah, that is Phelps. I hope you did not Google it, but yeah, it's Michael Phelps. So Michael Phelps has won close to 28 medals in his in the entire history of Olympics. That is the maximum count any player has won medals. That count any specific player has won. And you would be surprised to know that Phelps has an abnormal like disease since his childhood, but then his coach helped him prepare so much well that he became one of the uh, players who won the maximum medals. And you would also be surprised to know that right before the Olympics in Rio, he had a fracture actually in his right hand, and doctor had suggested him to take rest, wherein I think he was Olympics were only 7 or 8 months away. So but he basically was not ready to give up. And then his coach helped him strategize, prepared a strategy around participating in the Olympics, wherein he said, let's focus on the left arm. Let's exercise more through the left arm. Let's make the left arm more stronger. If you are not able to fully utilize your right arm while swimming. So then that was the strategy his coach designed, and he started focusing more on his left arms. And still, he continued practicing 8 to 12 hours every day. And you would be surprised to know that in Rio Olympics, he did not lose any medal, and he won gold for all the participation all the events he participated into. So that was an incredible motivational story and is an inspiration for all of us. So now let's move ahead with his yeah. So here, as you can see, his complete name is Michael Fred Phelps, and he won 28 medals. So how we will analyze this? We'll first of all do the same process on the Excel sheet so that we figure out what are the steps that we need to perform. And after that, we will basically do the same on our Jupyter notebook. So first of all, we will clear all the filters. So we will clear all the filters, and now we will specifically choose Phelps. It seems there are a lot of Phelps here, but we need Michael Phelps. Okay. So this is Michael Phelps, and here now we have this medal category wherein we still have not applicable here. So we will have to filter not applicable. Now we get the correct count. So here it says 29, wherein one is header and 28 is the actual count. So this is one way we could do it. And what is the other way we can do it? We can basically choose to pivot medal column. How we can do that? We can perform a pivot medal here, and we can put medal here. We can put medal here. Okay, it's pulling for all the players. Okay, no problem. So we'll follow the previous method. So I will clear the filters for now. So let's see how we are doing it here. So we are filtering all the medals. First of all, wherein we are removing all the null categories. And then we are basically trying to, okay, so this is the one. Medal not null. We are then trying to count group name, medal, reset index. Okay. So we are following other strategy here, which is a little different from what we did just now. So let's try to explore this one as well. We will try to perform step by step. Kindly unmute yourself if you're not speaking.
Arjun. Arjun. What is the afternoon? What
Just
is
allow me a
happening?
minute. Okay, so I will put on a new cell here and we'll try this step by step. So first of all, let's try this method wherein yeah, I can use the name directly from here. So let me, but the name seems to be a little big, but no issues. We can similarly extract what we did for Usain Bolt. So we can, let's copy this code and let's try to do this here. But we will try to replace this data. Michael, we can just call it Michael Phelps MP, and then we can put his name here that we can copy from here. And then let's try to print his data. So yeah, it tells it all the data about him, but we specifically want to know, what we want to know is show his medal count along with his participation history. So let's take a look at his participation history. So what we will need to do for that, we will need to specifically choose year here, and that is how we will get to know in which year he participated. So he participated into these year, but it is not clear into which event he participated. So what we will do, we'll put event here as well. So now we know what is the event he participated into. Sorry, what has happened? Okay, I missed to use double brackets. So he participated into these events, butterfly, 200-meter butterfly, and these many events. Let's also take a look at the city where he participated into these events. So he first of all he participated in Sydney in 2000 Olympics, then in Athena, Beijing, London, and Rio. And what was his medal count accordingly? So in which actually the medal count is coming below. So what I will do is I can no problem. I will skip one of these. Let me skip city. Let me skip event rather. So it says that when he participated in Sydney, he did not win any medal. But then in Athena Olympics, he won 2 bronze and he won 6 golds. And then in Beijing Olympics, he won all the gold. And then in London, he basically lost a few more medals. He lost here. He won 3 gold medals. He won silver medal for 2 of the events. And then in Rio, he won gold for all, but silver for one of the events. So that is how we reached here. Now we have to count the total medal count he has had so far. So how we can do that? That is very much similar to what we did. Anybody would want to help me here? So we'll have to use length function. We'll have to use the medal column. So first of all, we'll use medal column here and we'll filter out the not applicable ones. So how we can do that? We will use drop NA and then we want to basically also count how many medals were won after removing the not applicable ones. So it says he won 28 medals so far in the Olympics history. But this was not the direct way we filtered out. So because what happened is we knew this that Michael Phelps through our general knowledge that he won the maximum medals and we directly filtered his name. But that should not be the case. We should rely on the data itself and through that we should extract who is the top player who won the maximum medals. So I think the rightest approach would be this. So let's go ahead with this approach in our next cell. So I will delete this cell here and let's come here and see what it is doing. So we are filtering medal. First of all, we are taking all the count of medal in a variable max by removing all the null entries. After that, what we are doing is we are counting the data in player medal counts. We are grouping by the data. So grouping by means you are putting 2 columns together instead of putting all the columns. So we are grouping by the name column and the medal column together. And then we are also counting that medal for each of the name that is there. So to simplify that, let me pull a new cell here and let's it step by step. Let me and now let's try to print this. How does this data reflect? So it will show name of the players and what is the respective count of medals that they have won after removing the not applicable entries. So it says there are 28,000 rows, which means it shows a medal count against each of the player. All right. So now what we are doing is on the third line, what we are doing, we are basically trying to identify which player has the maximum medal count. So this maximum function would count the maximum, the row which is having the maximum entries, and will put that count into the maximum medal count. So let's try to execute that here. And let's try to print it, print this one rather. Yeah, so it says the maximum medal count is 28. Now we want to know who is that player for which this is the count. So what we are doing here, we are filtering around. So here we have all the data for the players. Okay, so in this data, we can filter the 28 count and we'll get to know what is that player. So how we are doing that? So let's create a new variable which is maximum medal winner equals to, we will use this particular data to filter, wherein we are filtering on the medal count, and it should match 28. So where do we have 28? So we have 28 in maximum medal count. And now I will try to print this and see what is the outcome. So it says the name of the player who has won 28 medals is Michael Fred Phelps, and he is the player who has won the maximum medals in the history so far. So this was the other way around, that we try to extract this insight, where in the first method, through our general knowledge, we directly filtered his name and we checked how many medals did he won. But this is the right way of approaching this insight. So we, through the code, we directly analyzed the data. We analyzed, okay, what is the player count? We grouped by the data for the name and count. And then through that count, we try to identify what is the maximum count and what is the player's name associated with that count. And that is how we reach this insight. All right. Is this example clear to all of you? Do you have any doubt with respect to this that you would want to clarify? So if there, yes, kindly unmute yourself and ask. Or you can give me a +1 or thumbs up if you understand it well.
Hello, Prashant.
Yeah, go ahead, Jayaprakash.
Yeah, just one clarification. So are these functions like count, not null? So are these inbuilt or you have created on your own?
No. So these are the functions part of Pandas library. So on the top that you see, we are importing Pandas. So once you import any library, all the functions of that library becomes accessible to you. So similar to other libraries also, if you will use OpenPyXL, then chart function would become available to you. If you would use NumPy, then mathematical functions would become available to you. So you have to use the respective libraries that will help you use the right set of functions.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Now let's move ahead. So we have covered this one. What were the events he was awarded? We have covered this first one. Which country has maximum participation? Okay. So now we need to know which country has maximum participation, or it can mean maximum players. who participated. So how can we analyze that data? So for that, this is our Excel sheet, and we have our team here. All right. So here we will have to do a pivot operation. So how do we do a pivot operation? So here, as you can see, there are 270,000 rows, and it is not easy to count which team has how many participation, because you see a player on each row could be different for the same team. So China, the first player is different, the second player is different. So which means that for each of the entry here, the player's name could be different. Also, the player's name could be same as well, like, as I can see. But still, like this pivoting on the team. Okay. So not null and drop NA. So let's take a look at that practically itself. So for example, let's pull this data here and print this without null. What it says. It says there are a lot of NANs here. We will try drop NA. Drop NA does not work. Not null only works. So how we can test it out is we will try to remove this and this. Try to print max. So it says there are many rows wherein these are the entries. So now let's try to do not null operation here and see how it prints. Okay, so not null is a Boolean operation actually, which does the same thing. So I hope you understand what Boolean is. So Boolean means if that entry was not applicable, it will call that as false. And if there was a valid entry, it will call it as true. So for all the entries wherein there was not applicable, it filtered that out. And for every entry wherein there was gold or silver mentioned, it called it as true. That is how we came. So that is the difference. So this is a Boolean operation, whereas it drop NA is not a Boolean operation. All right. So we were on which country has maximum participation? Yeah. So we will select team and we will perform pivot on this. So if we do pivot on this team, and if we, so it tells us which team had how much participation. And if I want to know what are the top teams, so this count is not sorted. I will have to sort this. So more sort options. I will use descending for count of team. So it says United States has the maximum participation, followed by France and Great Britain. So what are the steps here that we performed? First of all, we did pivot. And then after pivoting, we sorted the data, second step. And third step, we just need to know which are the top countries. So here, this is how we top 10 countries are here. So we can try the same way. So let's try here. So top countries equals to data. And we have to pivot, sorry, we have to, so for pivoting, we have operation as, which is known as pivot table. And we want to pivot on data that we have, and we have to pass on our index, that is T. And we have to count values team. So I think I will have to check the format of the pivot table. Let me check. Okay, so we'll have to use aggregate function equals to count. Okay, so I will have to use pd dot pivot table. Name is not defined. So here we were basically able to pivot with respect to teams, and it shows their aggregate count for all the sub columns, but we specifically want count for their participation. So we'll have to add columns also here, I think. Not columns, but values. Group of for team not one dimensional. So, okay, no problem. So I will try to test this out why it is not working. And maybe we can try this in our next session probably. But overall, were you able to understand what we covered here? And were you able to understand everything that we covered so far today? So today we extracted insights for Usain Bolt, for the top player, Michael Phelps. We figured that out through the other way out as well. No, there is not comma issue. Comma is all right. There is something different. Or maybe let me check an online example if that has any example here. Okay, I think I figured it out. No, it won't work. So I will have to test this out. So leave it. I will test this out and we'll try to repeat that in our next session. But any doubts on the other section that we covered, other areas that we covered today? Let me know so that we can clarify that and move towards the wrapping up the session for today. So today we looked how Usain Bolt actually participated in Olympics history. What were his trends, his participation, his medal won, the number of medals won. Then we looked out for the player who won the top medals, the events he participated into, and the count of the medal that he has so far. And then we followed the other way around, wherein we directly through the medal count and grouping by data figured out that who is the top player. So today what we could not do was a pivoting table, so I will try to check that again in after the session today, and we'll try to explain you how this basically works. There is some minor error which I'm not able to connect it now, but yeah, I will be able to figure that out. So does everybody feel okay with whatever we have covered so far? Okay, great to know that. So, which means we can now proceed towards wrapping up the session now. So I would now hand over to Sister Rakhi for another mind relaxation technique. So after that, I think we can close for today, but definitely we'll connect again to see how that operation will work in the next session.
Good evening once again. As usual, we'll have a mind empowerment technique. And our first theme today would be accepting challenges through a higher state of the self. Whenever we are faced with a challenging situation, not technically or professionally challenging, but mentally and emotionally challenging. We all know what happens in the mind at that time. How someone's words or behaviors drive us into such mad rush of thoughts, reactions. Such a negative state of mind. That we are prompted to retaliate with the wrong words, with harsh words, with mean behavior. And we justify those with one statement: I am right. I will not put up with this. And with full force, we come out resisting. What we really have to understand is that we cannot control others. This is a lost battle. We cannot control others. The only thing in our control is our own mind, our perspective, our outlook. So immediately when this whole storm is created in the mind, our first and foremost objective should be to restore our inner peace, become calm, become stable, remain pure in the thoughts and positive in the thoughts. And just simply calm down. The mind will brew the storm again. But now all of this is my creation. That person, that situation is no longer present. It was a moment and a happening of a past few moments, not this current moment. This current moment, I am the creator of those thoughts about that situation. We clearly have to understand who is the problem here. My reaction is the problem. Not the person who triggered my reaction. It's only a test of my self-sovereignty, of my self-control. That other person has only given me a chance to realize where I stand on the scale of self-control. So my number one goal at that moment is whenever I'm triggered, whenever a negative state, a mind storm is triggered by someone outside, my number one goal is to restore my inner balance, my positive state, my peaceful mind. The situation has only come to test me, test my ability to control the storm of the mind, test my ability to be aware, well aware that this is only a test and I have full control over the outcome of this test, over the outcome of this situation, over the outcome of how my mind is regulated. and reacts. The moment I become aware of the underlying meaning of that situation and what it has come to train and teach me and test me, it should not trigger a storm in the mind. While it triggers that storm, it should trigger an equal amount of elevated awareness that now I have to control this storm and calm it down. That's when I win. The moment I can restore my inner peace, I am the winner. Because then my reaction is from this higher peaceful state, positive, stable state. So my actions and reactions are not sinful, they are not negative, they are not wrong. Unlike the other person's actions, words, behavior towards me, which trigger an imbalance, internal imbalance within me. That is the definition of a wrong, sinful deed. But now that my mind has been controlled from this peaceful, positive state, my actions, words, reactions, behavior, mindset towards anyone is calm, composed, and positive. And I am saved from a sinful deed of causing imbalance in the state of mind of others. This is how I cut across my karmic accounts and debts. I settle them in this way and not create new karma with anyone. So, by controlling my inner reactions, by forcing myself to calm down and remain positive, I am moving forward. I am progressing towards my higher self. And I am gradually liberating myself from karmic bondages with other people. The good news is, each one of us has the power to do it. At any time, no matter how extreme the reaction is in our mind, we have the innate power to silence the mind, to calm down, restore a positive state, and not allow the mind to be triggered into storms. This power is inherent in every individual. It's only a matter of choice to exercise it. So let's be aware of extreme reactions and storms in our mind. And let's approach them with a different strategy, a different perspective. Thank you all for joining today. Hope you all have a great week ahead, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you, everyone.